Former President Donald Trump, once again at the center of global political conversation, has found himself in the spotlight after being overlooked for the 2025 Nobel Peace Prize, a prize he openly coveted and long claimed he deserved for what he called his historic contributions to peace in the Middle East, Eastern Europe, and beyond. The Nobel Committee's decision to pass over Trump and instead award the prestigious honor to Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado has triggered a wave of reaction across the political spectrum, from outrage among Trump's loyal supporters to applause from critics who view the decision as a rejection of his polarizing style of diplomacy. The announcement, made early this morning from Oslo, Norway, came after weeks of speculation fueled by Trump's own public statements suggesting he was confident of victory. In rallies and interviews, he reminded his audience of what he described as his unmatched record of peace efforts from the Abraham Accords that normalized relations between Israel and several Arab nations to his claimed involvement in pushing for ceasefires between Israel and Hamas. Trump also frequently referenced his earlier nominations for the Nobel Peace Prize during his presidency, noting that many people say no president had done more to promote peace and stability around the world than he had. Yet despite those claims and several official nominations from foreign politicians and supporters, the Nobel Committee decided to honor Machado for her long and fearless fight for democracy in Venezuela, her efforts to resist authoritarianism, and her work in organizing peaceful movements that challenged dictatorship through civic courage rather than violence. For Trump, the snub is not just another political loss. It is a personal and symbolic blow. He has long used the Nobel Peace Prize as a measure of international validation, comparing himself to past winners such as Barack Obama, whom he has repeatedly criticized for receiving the award early in his presidency. In a post on Truth Social following the announcement, Trump called the committee corrupt and politically motivated, arguing that his peace initiatives saved countless lives and deserve global recognition. Within minutes, his supporters flooded social media platforms with hashtags like #Trump deserved the prize and Nobel bias, claiming that the decision was part of a wider international effort to downplay his accomplishments and weaken his image before the 2024 presidential election aftermath and his potential 2028 campaign. Prominent conservative voices on Fox News and right-leaning outlets echoed similar sentiments, portraying the Nobel Committee as being influenced by anti-Trump sentiment, global elitism, and political correctness rather than genuine peace achievements. However, many international observers see the situation differently. According to diplomats and analysts, the Nobel Committee's choice reflects its long-standing preference for grassroots activists, reformers, and human rights defenders over political figures with controversial legacies. They note that while Trump did oversee several high-profile diplomatic moments, including the Abraham Accords and preliminary talks with North Korea, those initiatives often lacked lasting stability or verifiable peace outcomes. In contrast, Machado's decades-long advocacy for democracy in Venezuela represents exactly the type of sustained moral struggle the committee historically rewards. Her recognition, they argue, sends a message about the importance of endurance, consistency, and sacrifice in the face of repression. The timing of the decision adds another layer of political complexity. In the United States, the debate over Trump's global influence remains deeply polarized. His allies describe him as a bold disruptor, a leader who challenged conventional diplomacy, brought warring nations to the negotiating table, and forced institutions to rethink outdated policies. His opponents, meanwhile, see him as a destabilizing force whose confrontational tactics and erratic leadership undermined international trust. To them, his failure to win the Nobel Peace Prize is not surprising but inevitable, the logical consequence of a record marked more by controversy than collaboration. In the hours following the announcement, Trump campaign officials released a statement saying, President Trump's contributions to world peace will be remembered far longer than the decisions of a biased committee, promising that history will vindicate his leadership. Meanwhile, White House officials, when asked about the outcome, declined to comment directly on Trump's reaction, but congratulated Maria Corina Machado and emphasized the Biden administration's continued support for democratic movements worldwide. Analysts predict that Trump will likely use the Nobel snub to rally his base, framing himself once again as the victim of global institutions aligned against him. This narrative has historically energized his supporters, who see Trump's battles with establishment powers as proof that he remains a threat to the status quo. Yet beneath the politics lies a deeper question. What truly defines peace in the modern era? Is it the negotiation of treaties and agreements brokered between powerful nations, or the perseverance of individuals who risk everything to promote justice, democracy, and human dignity? The Nobel Committee's 2025 decision seems to affirm the latter, a statement that peace is not merely the absence of war, but the presence of freedom, fairness, and accountability. While Trump's defenders argue that he prevented major conflicts during his presidency, his critics counter that his rhetoric often fueled division, both domestically and abroad. They point to his handling of protests, his combative approach toward allies, and his tendency to equate strength with aggression as factors that may have influenced the committee's reluctance to honor him. The story also resonates internationally, where reactions have been mixed. In Europe, most headlines praised the Nobel Committee for resisting political pressure and maintaining its independence. Scandinavian analysts hailed the decision as a return to principle, focusing on human rights and democratic integrity. In contrast, in parts of the Middle East, particularly among leaders involved in the Abraham Accords, disappointment was palpable. Some diplomats privately expressed frustration that the man they credit with reshaping the region's political landscape received no recognition. Israeli officials, in particular, called the decision short-sighted, noting that the peace agreements Trump facilitated between Israel, the UAE, and Bahrain remain among the few enduring diplomatic successes of the past decade. Inside the United States, the Nobel rejection has reignited discussions about Trump's long-term global legacy. For supporters, the snub will only strengthen his narrative as a misunderstood reformer, whose accomplishments are underappreciated by elite institutions. For detractors, it reinforces the belief that Trump's self-promotion often exceeds his actual achievements. Political strategists believe Trump will use this controversy as another talking point during his public appearances, a rallying cry to energize voters who already feel alienated from the global establishment. "They didn't just deny me," he told a crowd at a recent rally, "they denied America's greatness." His words, predictably, drew cheers and chants of "Nobel for Trump" from the audience, signaling that this story is far from over. As the news continues to dominate global headlines, the broader implications are hard to ignore. Trump's omission from the Nobel roster will likely spark debates about how peace is defined in an era dominated by populism, digital warfare, and hybrid diplomacy. Some scholars argue that Trump's unconventional style, transactional, media-driven, and highly personalized, clashed fundamentally with the Nobel Committee's ideals of quiet perseverance and moral humility. Others contend that his achievements, though controversial, had tangible results, and that the committee's refusal to acknowledge them risks alienating millions of ordinary people who view Trump's foreign policy as refreshingly effective. In the end, the 2025 Nobel Peace Prize controversy is more than just a story about who won or lost. It is a reflection of the world's current ideological divide. On one side are those who believe peace must be earned through courage, resistance, and principle, represented by Machado's years of struggle against tyranny. On the other side are those who believe peace can be achieved through bold leadership, pragmatic negotiation, and unapologetic national strength, embodied, at least in part, by Trump's persona. Both visions have their advocates, but the Nobel Committee has clearly chosen the former, reaffirming its commitment to idealism over realpolitik. As for Donald Trump, his journey with the Nobel Peace Prize may be far from finished. Throughout his career, he has proven remarkably adept at turning setbacks into fuel for political resurgence. Whether he uses this moment to rekindle his law and order narrative or to present himself once again as the outsider battling global elites, one thing is certain: he will not let the world forget his name. The Nobel Peace Prize may have eluded him once again, but the discussion surrounding it, and his relentless pursuit of recognition, ensures that Trump remains, as always, at the center of the global conversation.